I'm appalled at how the people in this university that my dad loved behaved. It was absolutely disgusting. So before we roll the tape, set it up for us. Why were you there?
Well, I was there, ironically, to speak about the merits of free speech and why free speech is dying on campus. And so honestly, if you were trying to demonstrate exactly what I was warning about, you couldn't have planned it any better. So ironic, but really, really sad to see, as you said.
So you go to speak about free speech, and were you there on behalf of Turning Point USA or with TP USA?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I was invited by the Turning Point USA chapter at the University of Albany.
So do you think that was what flagged for them that you'd be a fun person to protest?
Yeah, I think it's one of many things. One is obviously there's a lot of attention around TPUSA because they dare to go on college campuses and speak vague truths sometimes. And people on the left don't tend to like that on campus. But there's also the idea that I'm a transphobe. I think a lot of people saw signs with my face on it, did a very, very quick Google search, and saw that I, for example, support biological reality and I oppose the mutilation of children. And that really is all it took to set people off. I think the transgender issue is what they claim to be at the center of this protest. I think a lot of it is they simply don't like any idea that goes against theirs. And this is just one of many examples that we're seeing on college campuses today.
Sometimes it seems to me they don't know what they're protesting. They want to be like the civil rights protesters, but they really have no beef. So they show up there and they chant some vague slogan and somehow they feel powerful. You got up there, tried to speak to, who invited you? Like what group were you speaking to?
It was the Turning Point USA group.
Okay, so it was that chapter on the college campus. So they're there. And how many people were in the room, would you say?
Oh, I'd say well over 100. It was packed to capacity. I think they were worried about the fire code at one point. But it was also hard to know how many were protesters and how many people were there, not who necessarily agreed with me, but just wanted to hear me speak and ask questions. The Q&A is always the fun bit once I'm done talking. And I'm very open and ask people who disagree with me to come forward and ask questions. And so there are a lot of people there hoping to actually engage in debate. I got a lot of messages afterwards of people apologizing for the behavior, but also saying how disappointed they were that they couldn't actually engage in the debate that I think is so sorely needed.
Mm-hmm. So this is just a bit of video of what happened to you by these so-called activists who tried to shut you down. I'm sorry, just an anecdotal observation, but why are the people who do this almost universally unattractive? I'm sorry, but it's true.
Well, I think that what's so strange is that they all rely on just either empty threats or really ad hominem attacks, nothing else. There was no substance. The only thing that was even vaguely ideological was the fact they were saying trans rights are human rights, but no one could explain what trans rights are. Honestly, I think the funniest chant was no cops, no KKK, no TPUSA, when I'm a Jewish immigrant, and I don't think the KKK are exactly falling over themselves to invite me to be in any way affiliated with them. And so there was just no basis to truth in anything they said, but it was just all fueled by anger. But also, if we're all Nazis, as they say we are, they didn't exactly pause when they were shoveling the pizza provided by TPUSA down their throats. And so really there was no basis of reality to anything they were pushing. It was just children having a tantrum. And I think it says a lot about really the college environment that they are allowed to behave this way and get away with it. I don't think anything is actually going to happen from this. It's just another example of shutting down free speech. And in some ways they were successful.
I'm sorry, some of those people could have used a break from pizza. They did not need extra calories. I'm just going to call it out. It's universal. They're always unattractive. They're bitter. It's the same people who are the masked Nazis who wanted us to cover up our faces forever. And they're working out their issues on people like you who are trying to spark good faith debates on very difficult issues, which is exactly how we historically have worked through those issues. I understand that in addition to their pizza shoveling, they decided it might be a good idea to burn or tear a Bible. What did they do to the Bible?
Yeah, so one of the TPUSA members had a Bible with them, and one of the protesters decided to tear it up because that's what free speech means to them. I think it just shows really at the core of it, they don't care about free speech. This is just about bullying people off campus. Again, destruction of property is a crime, but I doubt anything will happen here. One can only imagine what would happen if it was, say, a different religion and their prayer books were being torn up. I think it just demonstrates so many levels right now.
Right. If something had happened to the Quran, can you imagine? We've seen that in the past. They say students attended the event as a peaceful demonstration of queer solidarity and joy, and that their rights to free speech were denied when authorities later removed them so the event could continue. That they were the ones disenfranchised, Ian, once the authorities said, get out.
I mean, it's just the victim card, isn't it? Is that they present themselves as victims because they're victims of speech. Speech and violence are merged together so they can use really violent threats, violent actions to defend themselves supposedly against speech. And then when consequences come down upon them, as they do for any adult behaving this way, then suddenly they're the victims. They fundamentally don't really know what free speech is, but even if they did, they do not care. It doesn't matter what kind of person I am. It doesn't actually matter whether or not any of their accusations of me are true or false. Anyone who is invited by a college chapter to a public school specifically as well has the right to speak. And they don't have to listen. They certainly have the right to protest. I actually supported their right to protest. I think it's great that anyone is engaged in the political space with any passion. The problem is when they try to use the heckler's veto to really threaten people, bully people into not speaking, into not hearing other ideas. That's when they cross the line.
Did you try to speak at the microphone and this is what you were met with?
No, actually, we were talking about that. I was backstage this whole time listening to one of the many glorious insults that I've heard better ones since I was 5 years old, honestly. So it wasn't all that offensive. But we were speaking with the law enforcement there and various administration. They didn't want me to go out because they just thought it would rile people up more. They were trying to calm the situation down. But really, the horse had bolted on that issue. I've been in other college campuses where protests have tried to happen. University of New Mexico is a clear example where they had a lot of protection before the speech. And that's really what you've got to do. Once you've got people dancing a conga line around the room, spitting in people's faces, all these kind of things, you can't really bring that back. And so the horse had bolted. I think it was quite clear that the speech wasn't going to go ahead in that room. And so we were forced to go to a different room under police escort and police protection during the second event, which was just ridiculous. This has to happen on a college campus in the United States. It's just absurd.
Sure, you can go to Brazil or Colombia and get some crazy stuff done to your face. But why would you do that? Here's a real review from Genucel.com. Claire writes, I absolutely love Genucel. My skin feels so good, tighter, younger, with a more even tone, and I only used it for a week. My advice for everyone, take a before picture. Then there's Jim, who makes another point, writing in, wife loves it. Ever since I purchased it for her, things got much more interesting after dark. Enough said. It's true, nothing works like Genucel, because it is a family recipe for over 20 years, made by a compounding pharmacist in small batches and always safe, cruelty-free, and natural. Right now, go to Genucel.com/MK60 and save over 70% off Genucel's most popular package. That's all their best stuff, including now their ultra retinol and dark spot corrector. Don't wait. Go to Genucel.com/MK60. All orders upgraded to free shipping, and every subscription order includes a complimentary spring spa box with 3 spa essentials, also free. Limited time, visit now, Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.